I feel like Tizo, I'm back on that bullshit. If he talk reckless and empty the full clip, I don't sip no lean and I don't pop no bars. Shorty, she on me, she think I'm a star. I'm chasing this money, I really can't stop. All these bitches won't suck on my cock. If she cannot pay me, I don't want the top. Frosty, he blowing, he cannot be stopped.
Okay. Now, this one I just wanted to make because it seems cool to make. Now, first off, I'm gonna say off rip that Deku is going to exist in the DC world / My Hero world. Now, the way that he would become such a good shot is he would be trained by Victor Zsasz, and also he would be trained by Deathstroke and Deadshot. Technically, he would be better than Deadshot. Because here's the thing about Deadshot. Deadshot had the most perfect aim, literally ever. He has never missed a shot on accident. He has never missed a shot on accident. He's missed a few shots on purpose, but never on accident. Now, the reason that he would be better is because Deadshot is mostly inside of, well, he would mostly be inside of shooting. Deathstroke is known as one of the best martial arts fighters, so that would mean he would have an even better martial arts techniques than Deadshot and Deathstroke, because he would learn from both of them, along with Victor Zsasz, which, if you've never seen Zsasz, he can't exactly fight without his gun. He can, but it's just not as seen as with his guns. So this would make him the best shot to ever exist. Now, after his training, which his mom would get him into, his mom was inside of multiple dark web type, how do I explain? She was into that dark web type shit. Not like that regular, not like that real life dark web shit. I'm talking about that Gotham dark web shit. And if you don't know what I mean by that, you probably don't want to know what I mean. So, Deadshot is technically an assassin or a hitman. So all she would have to do is pay him at least $1,000 to, not 1,000, $1 million to a couple $100,000 to get him to train. Victor Zsasz, Izuku would just have to show, because Zsasz cares about money, but he doesn't care about money like that. He'd do a few things for money, but he wouldn't really betray someone as powerful as Falcone, even though, he kind of did inside the Gotham thing. So, all he would have to do is just show his killing intent, and Victor would allow him to fight. Now, this killing intent wouldn't be anything like the Joker, no. Victor wouldn't, teach anyone like the Joker how to shoot like he does. Because Victor Zsasz always gets his jobs done, unless it's against Commissioner Gordon or Batman. And I'm pretty sure inside of one universe, even Victor Zsasz has killed Batman once. Now, with Deathstroke, he would have to really try with Deathstroke. So, yeah. Now, let's get into the actual story. Hit that fucking intro. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. Now, anyway, Izuku would go to school. Now, this was the first time that he's ever been to school. Ever. He would have been, well, he would have been taught or homeschooled. Now, this time, it was inside of 8th grade, so he's been learning since elementary school to 7th grade. And he stopped learning at 8th grade after he was known as one of the best martial arts and shooting type, well, people in the world, I guess. Because he's not really a hero yet. Now, one day at school, since Azuka was quirkless, and, you know, Bakugo would bully him for being quirkless, or at least explosion. Azuka would just dodge the explosion. Another thing that everybody always noticed is underneath his clothes, you could see it, but you wouldn't really say anything about it. Everyone could see that he always had a bulletproof vest under his suit, not like a bulky one, but a thin one that could block maybe pistol bullets. Now, Bakugo would continuously try to bully Izuku, which would never work, until one day, Izuku was sleeping because, first off, he has the intelligence of a 16-year-old. So technically, if he really tried inside of his classes, except for just getting okay grades, like he did it just enough to stay inside an okay grade level. So then he wouldn't be looked upon as a prodigy and be given any Grammys and basically, you know, be known as one of the smartest people in the world. So then he wouldn't be able to be seen a lot. So then people wouldn't talk over him. So people wouldn't know him. As he's sleeping, Bakugo would hit him with an explosion. My bad if that caused a lot of noise. I dropped my phone on my chest. Now, as I was saying, he would explode Izuku's hair, which would set on fire his hair, which Izuku then turned around after being woken up by the loud boom from the explosion, which he wouldn't even flinch. He would just look behind him. See, the thing about Deathstroke and Deadshot and Zaz is that none of them took it easy on him. Deadshot wouldn't beat him up to a bloody pulp like Zaz or maybe even, you know, Deathstroke. But he would really discipline him to the point where he would really know when to be worried and when to not be worried, and to know and assess who's a threat. So, as he wakes up and he puts his hair out with his finger, which this isn't like a candle type flame, like this was a pretty big type flame. So it caused some first degree burns. He looked at his hands and he's like, okay. And then he flips out of his chair, grabs Bakugo by his hair, and then slams him against the back of the wall. Since I'm going to say Bakugo was sitting directly behind him, since, you know, Bakugo could sit wherever he wanted to, since everybody was afraid of him. Now, as he did this, Bakugo then gets back up and tries to hit him with some explosions. Now, he would dodge most of the explosions, but the shockwaves from some would send him back significantly. But it wouldn't hurt him since, you know, the bulletproof chest plate and leggings. Now, he would get back up and with his combat combat abilities, he would break one of his arms, break one of his legs, and break his rib cage. Now, I know what you're wondering. Would he slam him to the ground to break his rib cage? No, since all of the combat training he had, he was also taught with one other thing. He was he was taught um he was taught genjutsu. So putting all of these together, he used enough power and force with control, to not like seriously break any bones, to push enough force into his chest, into his ribs, that it will break his ribs. Now, he did this so fast that by the time the teacher actually got to him, it was already too late. Now, at this point, Bakugo's gasping for air since all of this force put into his body. As I was saying, all of this force put into his body would significantly knock all the wind out of him. Now, he would be taken to the office, and not only taken to the office, but he would be taken to juvie. Now, I know what you're wondering. Wasn't technically he was defending himself since, his hair would have burned out? Yes, but the reason that he's going to, juvie, is because he showed a skill that was remarkably impossible for his age. The thing that he showed was he didn't only put enough controlled force into his chest to fracture a bone. At his age, he would only be able to fracture a bone. He didn't have enough muscle mass to do that. So this would mean, since the Gotham and the MUA, My Hero World, that he had some injections. He was taken to a prison hospital because everyone would have known that, his mom wasn't gonna, he wasn't gonna allow any regular people inside of a regular hospital to, test on him. They tested a sample of his blood, and this would come positive for a small dosage of the super soldier serum. Not like the Captain America, but the DC version. Basically, as Izuku was being trained by Deathstroke, Izuku's mom asked Deathstroke who or what serum or super soldier serum was he given. Because if you did not know, Deathstroke, he has a small regenerative capability along with faster reflexes and he's a little bit stronger than regular humans. So he would then proceed to get the injections while he was asleep, which, if you did not know, this serum almost killed Deathstroke. Actually, a lot of people thought he was dead when he got this serum at first, but then, was seen to not be dead. Like this caused a lot of stress on his body, and then his vitals kind of spiked, went weak, and then came back, and then he kind of, got away. Now, this was the early dosage of the Venom serum. The version that wasn't, kind of like Bane, that would muscle you up and make you insane. But it technically was enough to be called a super soldier serum. Since, if you've ever seen Deathstroke's strength, he can hold about 3 people at once. So, at his type of, how do I explain? At his ratio of muscle to body weight, he wouldn't really be able to support 3 people by himself, or at least without an amount of strain. So this would cause him to either have an injection, a secret power, or a quirk. Now, the only thing about Gotham was quirks weren't very common. Yeah, I'm adding that in. Quirks weren't very common inside of Gotham. I'm gonna say there was something in the air that caused the evolution for quirks to be a little bit less. I don't know what that noise is, but it was a little bit less. How do I explain? It was basically almost a 0% chance of a quirk to manifest in a person. And also, even if it did, it had to be a useful quirk to be dangerous. Now, as they then found this, they then arrested his mom, and she got a few years, which they couldn't really take the super soldier serum out of him, so they just sent him back to school and gave him a warning. Now, as he was sent back with an amount of money that they tested his IQ, and they found out that his IQ was high enough to be an average adult or 16-year-old, which technically is an adult or considered an adult, but at the age of 16, you're a little bit more responsible with money. So they basically just pulled a Lord Third and just gave him a bunch of money and sent him on his merry way. Now, if you didn't get the point of that joke, you're stupid, and you don't watch Naruto. Well, you might not be stupid, but you just don't watch Naruto. Now, anyway, he then on with the school year with Bakugo not being afraid of him, but not wanting to get into a fight with him. Now, the school year would continue to go on and on and on and on and on. My bad for the background noise. Someone just dropped a pot. And on and on and on and on until eventually, it would, and until the school year would end and the 10 months of training would come. Now, on the 10 months of training, he would do something a little bit less legal, per se. He would go back to Gotham, which, at his age, he wasn't, since, he almost caught a felony. He wasn't allowed to go outside of Japan for a long time, but, he had to, to make it inside of UA. Now, he proceeded to grab some guns with him, which, before the officers could fully search his house, his mom always told him where her 2 guns were. Now, one was a 223. Yeah, I had to make that joke. And one was a Desert Eagle, which Desert Eagles have enough force to blow your brains out, and not like in the normal way, like with a horrible scar if you survive. And that's a small percentage of you actually surviving. Now, he then proceeded to hide the 2 guns inside of a chest, inside of the yard, inside of a secret vault. So he took the guns with him, and he took out a few bad guys, and he took a few illegal serums with him. Now, as he did, he then proceeded to go and do it to 3 more bases. Now, one of these serums were the Venom serum. Now, he only needed one, so he sold the other two. Well, since there were three of the Venom things, he then proceeded to sell the other two for about $100,000 per, even though they were worth about 500,000 to $1 million. And he then proceeded to get a Kryptonian serum. No, I'm not going to make him a full Kryptonian or give him the powers of a Kryptonian. I'm not going to give him anything but increased durability and a little bit more super strength. Reason? 'Cause I'm that nigga. Not reason? 'Cause I'm that nigga. Now, he would combine these two potions, and he would have this Speed Force potion too. Yeah, I'm not going to only add two superheroes, or one supervillain and two superheroes. I'm going to add one other thing. The Speed Force serum, which the Speed Force serum is basically just lightning inside of a bottle. Now, he put just enough to make his physical speed a little bit faster, to basically make him able to run about 50 to 55 miles per hour, which is extremely fast at top speed, but this would cause a lot of strain on his body since the entire Speed Force wasn't helping his body, which could technically cause him to end up killing himself if he strains his body too much. The amount of speed that would actually kill him would be 65 miles per hour, because the full Speed Force isn't protecting him, but a portion of it is. So 65 miles per hour would kill him. Now he combined all of these together, and he also added one other serum, which I'm not going to say what this serum was, but all I'm going to say is it was from a superhero that's main powers was, that powers was healing. Now, if you know any superheroes' powers that are healing, put them inside the comments and guess which superhero I'm thinking about inside of the DC universe that has the power of healing. Now, the reason that he added this one, 3 vials of this one, is because all of those together would normally kill a person, unless, they were very lucky. So he added all of these to himself, and this is miles outside of Japan. Reason? His screams would be able to be heard for miles. So he adds these vials, and they go into his veins. Now, at first, they don't seem to be doing anything. He sees that his veins are glowing red, which he doesn't really care about. He's at first thinking, wow, were all of these duds? He feels the healing kicking in, but none of the others are kicking in. Then his vision then turns to all black. He then starts to scream and scream and scream and scream and scream. So loud, of course, anyone that was driving even past remotely his shack could hear his screams. People even called police officers, and they searched the area and couldn't find his shack. But everyone could hear the screams. And it didn't only last for like a few minutes. No, it lasted for hours. The reason that it lasted for hours was because, first off, it's a super soldier. It's the Venom serum mixed in with a little bit of Kryptonian blood, mixed in with Speed Force blood. Now, if you don't know what that type of strain would do to your body, okay, imagine an average human. Now, the first reaction that would happen from only the flash and Superman serum, it would it would expand the veins and probably explode your arms before, could actually make its way to your heart or your brain. Now, you would lose your arms forever, of course. Probably never be able to heal. Now, mix this in with the Venom serum, a normal person's body would implode. And not like the whole body would explode, no. Like all the veins in the body would explode at once. So this means all you could see inside of their eyes, inside of their mouth is just blood everywhere. Now, since these are all added together and they're not even in the least similar to each other, this would make your blood toxic to a normal person, which would mean if a normal person got a blood transfusion from you, they would gain these powers, but it would probably mangle their body horribly. Back to the main story. Now, he wakes up inside the shack, and he first off, since he is 15, he doesn't have his driver's license yet, but since you have to be 16. So basically, he gets up and he proceeds to, well, walk to Japan, which would take a few days. And as he gets back there, he would then go to sleep because he was walking for days. Now, the reason that he didn't sleep at all was because his body was inside of immense pain. And even sleeping on the sidewalk, his skin would still be extremely sensitive and it would feel like 1,000 needles going into his arm. Now, he gets up and he's still a little bit sore, but since he used 3 healing vials with, the other ones, it is technically healing him. Now, he trains a little bit longer, and let's to after the 10 months, the UA entrance exam. Now, for the test, well, he would get an A, no question, no doubt, no cap. Now, as this then happened, everyone's just amazed by how fast he solved this test, because this took him even less time than literally any of my other what ifs. This took him about 30 seconds to finish this test. I know what you're thinking. Wouldn't an average human brain need to think longer than that? Remember, he has technically the speed force in his veins now. For the Flash, constantly, the world around him is slowed, which means this would slow his perception down a lot and give him even more thinking power, which would take, well, a lot less time than it would originally. His original running or perception speed was about, I forgot what the average thinking power of a human is. I'll be right back, and I'm gonna go and solve that. Okay, just came back with new data, and it takes 10 seconds. This would slow down the time for that to a few seconds, which I'm gonna say about 1 second, which I could make him OP and say a few milliseconds, which would give him about the same time as the Flash. So I'm gonna increase it to 3 seconds, since I don't want to make him too fast instead of thinking wise, or he'd be able to do a lot of fucked up shit instead of a few seconds. Anyway, This time they allow Izuku to take guns in. Now, these guns don't look very powerful or destructive, because, of course, you know, they look like normal guns, but it's not the guns that have power, it's the bullets. He got the bullets off of the black market, which he would copy the style of Deadshot, except it's green and red. Imagine green and red together. Now, as he then goes inside the test exam, after everything's explained, the person then says, 3, 2. I don't know why I'm counting. The villains won't tell you when to go. Go. And as the man then says go, everyone then starts running along with Izuku. Now, Izuku's carrying an AR. Yes, an assault rifle. Now, he then sees a small robot and he starts shooting at it. Now, this robot then explodes from the bullets, which everyone instantly stops after seeing how destructive his gun was. Now, the testers are like, didn't you check out his gun? Didn't you say no gun's that powerful? He's like, damn it. The one thing that I forgot to check was, I forgot to check the damn bullets. Now, as he keeps on going on to destroy multiple robots, everyone then notices that it's not the entire robot that's exploding. It's the robot's head. Now, as they see that every single bullet hits the robot's head, they then realize that these bullets aren't too powerful, but powerful enough to put a hole inside of an average person's body. Now, they then realize that he has about the same accuracy as Deathstroke, Deadshot, or Zaz. Well, not Deadshot. They don't see Deadshot yet, but they do see the same accuracy as Deathstroke or Zaz. But Zaz doesn't have almost perfect accuracy. No, he always gets his jobs done, but he doesn't have perfect accuracy. Now, he then proceeds to shoot both of his guns together. Now, as everyone sees the guns going, they then say those bullets are gonna hit each other. Those could refract off of each other and hit a student. Now, as All Might's about to jump in along with 2 other heroes, they then see the bullets hit each other and they split apart, hitting 2 robots. Now, even if All Might would have jumped, he wouldn't have been able to, he wouldn't be able to, get to the bullet in time. So by the time his legs were starting to tense up, the bullet had already hit the 2 robots. Now, he then proceeds to shoot multiple bullets. And at this point, he's just auto-firing, which allows multiple bullets to reflect off of each other, hitting multiple targets. And they then see Deadshot. They then see the villain, or not even the villain. They then see the hitman known as Deadshot right there. And they're like, wasn't Deadshot told to wear black and red? They're like, yeah, but this kid isn't missing a single shot. Now, he then throws 2 grenades, and as they look like they're about to pass the robot, he then shoots the grenades, exploding the grenades, of course, and getting 3 more eliminations, which gives him about 60 points. Now he's just racking up points against points against points against points. Now, one robot is instantly in front of him, and before he can pull the trigger, his gun then gets thrown out of his hand. Now, the teachers are getting ready to jump in because they know that this kid was quirkless. And basically, without his guns, he would be able to be killed. Because, again, I'm going to say inside of every single one of these, I'm going to say a quirk basically allows a person to have more durability, even if they don't have a durability quirk. Now, he then gets hit by the robot. And as he hits the ground, he then runs back almost instantly after hitting the ground. I don't know why I'm sneezing so much. Now, as he then runs back at the robot, he then jumps for the robot, and everyone's like, there's no way that he's about to try and square up. That he's about to score up with an entire robot. Or, zero, or a, mech, or whatever you want to call it. Not a mech, because a mech is a drivable robot. Drivable giant robot, and or medium-sized robot. Now, he then proceeds to punch the robot, smashing it into pieces. And they're like, I thought this kid was quirkless. They're like, he was. Well, when we tested him, he was. There was nothing for a quirk. Even inside of his medical records, no quirk. There's no way this could have happened over a span of 2 days. Now, he then picks back up his guns. And as he's getting ready to shoot 2 more robots, he then sees 2 girls screaming. Well, he then hears 2 girls screaming. Instead of just Uraraka, there's 2 girls. Momo's also under there, trying to help Uraraka. Now, she's screaming because she's trying to, she's basically trying to use all the strength in her body to pick up the rock. Which, of course, is not working. Now, as the 0-pointer's getting ready to step on them, Izuku then says, I have to let off another one of my abilities. He then starts running. And by running, I mean, running. Now, at this point, he's going about 30 to 35 miles per hour. Now, he then picks up Momo, gets her out the way, and then he turns around, switches to 40. Then he throws the rock off of a rock and picks her up. I don't know. I really don't know why I'm sneezing so much. Oh, my allergies. Oh, yeah. Now, after doing this, he then points his guns at the robot and he says, well, that's not gonna work. And then he says, well, hopefully I'm strong enough. And then he jumps towards the robot, grabbing its leg. Now, he then tries to lift the robot. And tries to lift and lift and lift. As he does, it's not really doing much. The robot's about a foot off the ground. And he then kind of twists his body, making the robot fall. Which, even though this is extremely strong, but even though it's not like Superman type strong, it is pretty strong. And then he jumps up into the air, And as he's coming back down, he's like, I forgot. If I jump too hard, how am I supposed to land and not break my legs? He then says, fuck, before punching the robot, destroying the Zero Pointer's head, completely demolishing the Zero Pointer. Now, the test then ends, and he gets a few hero points. And his arm basically gets fixed up since, instead of his legs getting broken, his arm got broken since, the force of him coming down with the punch. Now, this is where I'm going to leave it off right now. If you guys enjoyed, I don't really give a fuck. And time for this Back in Blood intro.
Jerry Production.
On the way, you get something back from me, shit. You gotta get it, this shit in blood, huh? Bitch, I got my own fight, don't need security in the club. All they wolfing on the neck, nigga, I thought you was a thug. I ain't got nowhere to go, I shot up everywhere they was.